following your food from the farm to the table. This week we talk about the challenge of feeding more people with less water. We visit a global conference and see the role Nebraska is playing. And from the farm to chancellor of a Big Ten school. Ronnie Green is an outspoken advocate for Nebraska agriculture. We'll talk about his vision for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And head to Juniata to meet our farm family of the month. Grow is agriculture now. Nebraska may not have everything figured out when it comes to irrigation, but we are a world leader and sharing that knowledge with global leaders trying to feed more people with less water. We start tonight with a look at the Water for Food Global Conference. In Nebraska, we're blessed with the ability to irrigate because of the Ogallala Aquifer, but for farmers across the globe, that water resource is much more difficult to come by.
We had to figure out how we were going to deal with shortages.
Governments can't control water on their own. Farmers have to be part of the solution.
The farmers are, in the end, they're the private sector, they're the business, the farm family business is really important for even the small-scale farmers.
The Global Water for Food Conference focuses on public-private partnerships, looking to Nebraska as an example of how it can work, where a unique system of natural resources districts work with farmers to manage groundwater.
We have this wonderful story in Nebraska, and of course the challenges that still is trying to produce more food with the same amount of resources or less resources, but many lessons that have been learned over the years with the investments and the agricultural production systems that have been developed here.
One speaker said irrigation is the best way for farmers in developing nations to escape poverty. It's a much different scenario in Nebraska, where irrigation is well established and farmers turn to technology to better manage water.
And as we've evolved through technologies that we've utilized over the years, from flood irrigation to pivots, to low pressure pivots, now to subsurface drip irrigation, we continue to utilize those technologies to continue to make sure that we're most efficient with every drop that we utilize.
Peter McCormick's work has taken him around the globe, most recently to Sri Lanka. Now he heads to Nebraska, where he says the world can learn from our farmers.
The productivity has increased dramatically, so that's a very positive story from agriculture. And
Peter McCormick takes over as head of the Water for Food Institute later this fall. Steve White, NTV News, Lincoln. The problem of drought has inspired a new documentary. Filmmaker Conrad Weaver has a farm background and previously produced a film on wheat harvest. Everywhere he went, farmers were talking about drought, and he decided to bring that focus to his new film called Thirsty Land.
To tell the story about drought and the impact that it's having on agriculture, the impact that it has on communities, and ultimately the impact it has on all of us, because we all like to eat, we like to wear clothes.
Weaver partnered with the Water for Food Institute at the University of Nebraska and premiered the film as part of their conference. He hopes to get the documentary on Netflix and make people think about the water they use every time they turn on a faucet.
You know, think about that water is precious, and once you use it and it's gone for a very long time. And you know, as far as potable water, and so that's what I hope to accomplish, for people to look at their behavior, look at their water use.
Weaver is in the process of setting up screenings of that new film. And now from drought to flooding. Recent rains caused problems in Deschler and Holdridge, and those same rains have slowed planting progress. The most recent USDA report for Nebraska shows the weather has been a factor in planting corn as growers wait for soil to dry. Still, statewide, the USDA says 16% of corn has been planted, and that's ahead of the 5-year average. Meanwhile, pasture land and winter wheat are responding well to the improved soil moisture. Most winter wheat rates fair to good. Nebraska's biggest horse race went on as scheduled, even though maybe not quite as planned because of a quarantine. As they've done for more than 25 years, the Bosselman family drew 4 positions with a full field of 10 horses. No horses were shipped in this year because of biosecurity concerns, and trainers say it's been a tough situation.
I would have rather not any of this had happened, you know, And there are some people that are here that can't run at all, so we're real thankful that we at least have an opportunity to run. I feel really bad for the guys that are still quarantined and can't compete. It's got to be really hard for them.
185 horses stabled at Fauner Park have been prevented from racing, but after tests on horses in another barn came back negative, some restrictions were lifted. The concern is a form of equine herpes virus. Improving not only life expectancy, but quality of life. Officials say it's all because of agriculture. According to the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research, new egg technology and science is advancing at a high pace, meeting the demands of feeding the growing population, controlling foodborne pathogens, and growing nutritious foods. That's exactly why researchers say it's crucial to keep up the pace. There's a push to help Nebraska industries compete globally. The miscellaneous tariff bill passed in the U.S. House of Representatives, temporarily suspending tariffs on imported goods needed by U.S. manufacturers when there is no domestic production. Congressman Adrian Smith is a co-sponsor of the bill. He released a statement saying, quote, considering approximately 50% of the last package was targeted towards agricultural products, 3rd District producers stand to benefit from reduced input costs. I am pleased to support this legislation and reduce trade barriers for Nebraska industries, end quote. And keeping goods moving in the heartland is also the focus for Senator Deb Fischer. She's organizing a field hearing in Scottsbluff on May 1st. Last year, Fischer played a key role in getting a highway bill passed. She says it's important for transporting goods, which certainly includes Nebraska grains and meat and ethanol and egg equipment manufactured in Nebraska. This will be the 3rd field hearing Senator Fischer has conducted in the state. At a past hearing, she focused on waters of the U.S. And the Nebraska cattlemen applaud Senator Fischer for being the only no vote on a bill that came out of committee in the U.S. Senate this week. Fischer objected to the EPA's spill prevention rule. She said it would force farmers and ranchers to meet the same regulations as major oil refineries. Under the rule, producers with above-ground gas and oil tanks would have to hire engineers to design and certify a plan for spills. Fischer said the bill overall has many worthy provisions, but she voted no, saying they need to do something about on-farm fuel storage. Nebraska incumbents in Congress all get the endorsement from Nebraska Farm Bureau. Adrian Smith is running unopposed in the 3rd District. Farm Bureau's Political Action Committee says Smith has helped farmers by fighting government regulation, and they say he listens to the science on issues like regulation of GMO products and responsible use of antibiotics in livestock. The group also backs Jeff Fortenberry for his support of biofuels, and they have endorsed Democrat Brad Ashford for opposing EPA regulations. A ranching family in the Sandhills honored for their conservation practices. Plum Thicket Farms on the northern side of the Sandhills is the 2016 recipient of the Nebraska Leopold Conservation Award. Rex and Nancy Peterson, along with their son Patrick and his wife, manage the operation. They've transformed the farm to no-till, despite knowing crop yields would initially take a hit. They also use a multi-species mix of cover crops as forage for grazing, and they say these efforts are paying off. They're black and yellow and transport precious cargo. You may be thinking, school buses. No, we're talking about the humble bumblebee. Melissa Newman shows us the buzz.
Spring is here and so are the bees. In this hive alone, there's 20,000, but by the end of June, there's going to be 60,000 tirelessly working away to make their honey.
They're probably the most sustainable part of agriculture.
That's because 1/3 of the food we eat can be traced back to bees' pollination. Their population, however, is on the decline due to factors like climate change and pesticides. But you don't have to be a beekeeper like Ron Babcock to help them out.
More wildflowers and things like that is what's going to really help the bees. So if you plant more wildflowers, that would help a lot.
If the bees get into your home or become a nuisance, Babcock says don't try to kill them with pesticides. Instead, let a beekeeper come rescue them.
We go out there and collect them and bring them out to some place like this, like a farm or some place that, is going to be a sanctuary for them.
Babcock has 17 acres of land dedicated to being a habitat for the pollinators.
Seeing right here is some honey that's being made by the bees.
The honey he collects has multiple benefits as well.
you don't need as much to sweeten stuff, so it has lower calories. A lot of people believe that it helps with allergies if you buy local honey. You know, there's been a lot of controversy whether it really does or not. I think that my allergies are better when I'm eating my honey, so I eat my honey every day.
So if the prospect of helping the environment has you buzzing with excitement, becoming a beekeeper might be easier than you think.
All it takes is a love for the natural world and a little bit of money to go and get started, and then you're a beekeeper.
Class rings are a school tradition, but now students at the Nebraska College of Technical Agriculture in Curtis are bucking tradition. The school unveiled their new tradition at the first ever NCTA buckle ceremony. Instead of rings, 28 students received belt buckles engraved with their name, year, and major. The idea came last fall when recruiting coordinator Tina Smith was thinking of a symbolic keepsake. Smith says the belt buckle is more symbolic of the Ag College than a ring. Still to come, we meet our farm family of the month. But up next, from the farm to the University Chancellor's office, it's our Grow Interview.